Hey, DM Scotty here. Nice to see you again. This is going to be a short series of segments I'm going to do on crafting spell effects. Most spells, like a fireball, you just shoot it, it goes off in a radius, and it's done. You really don't need a marker or anything, you just calculate who took the damage. Well, with things like what we're going to do today, like a flaming sphere, you need to keep track of where that spell effect is. So instead of giving a chid or a little marker or something, why not make an actual model for the spell? Your wizard's going to love you, it'll add interest to the game, and it'll look great. So let's get right to it. Now what we need to make our flaming sphere are some foam balls. These are the 1-inch foam balls. These are just styrofoam balls. So just need one of those. Now what I'm going to do to make it easier to manipulate is I am going to put a nail in it. And this is just to be able to hold it. So that's much easier to be able to hold. And then I'm going to use, which I have used before, the Liquitex flexible modeling paste. So let's open that up. So now what I'm going to do is get a generous portion out, and I'll start applying it to the ball. Put it all over the ball. Okay, so you can see now, got it on the ball. Now, one thing about this paste is it tends to point if you pull it. So if you take your brush and just start just kind of stippling on it, it'll pull that flexible paste medium out. And it'll make spikes. And kind of what you can do is just kind of from the lower part just pull them up. On the upper you don't really want to worry about it much because that's the top of the ball. So you have a nice texture on there. Now what we'll do is we'll let that dry, and we'll paint it up and apply it to a base, and we will have our rolling flaming sphere. So there you go, in just a few minutes. Okay, we'll come back when that's dry. Here's my flaming ball of death so far. I've let the texture gel dry, so it's hard now, and I've got it. I left it on the nail, so it's easy to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some yellow. And just start So there we go, I've got it totally covered with yellow. And now I'll add some orange to that. And I'm going to add the orange while it's wet. That's perfectly fine. Not totally covering up the yellow, I'm just adding some orange. Very similar to what we did for the burning house. Okay. There we go, got some orange on there. Now I'm going to add some red. I just want to hit it very lightly with the red. Just get a little bit on the brush. So you're just trying to get those peaks. Okay, so we got it on there. So now it looks starting to look like a flaming ball of death. So now we need to mount it to a base. Okay, so here I have the base I'm going to use. All I've done for this base is I took a quarter and traced around it on a thin piece of cardboard and then cut it out with scissors. The quarter is the perfect size for a 1-inch base, so I'm going to use that. Now the reason I'm using the cardboard as opposed to the card stock is I'm going to pierce the cardboard. And the cardboard is much easier to pierce than cardstock. The cardstock will tend to bend, even thinner types will tend to bend and all that stuff, so it just makes it easier to use the cardboard. I'm going to use one of these tack nails to pierce the base. So I'll just put it in the center of the base and then just push through. And then once I get it started, I'll just turn it on the other side and push it all the way through. And that'll make a great start for our base as far as like holding the flaming sphere in place. So now I'm going to take my flaming sphere and just pull it off the nail. I've already got the hole started, so I'll just put some glue on here. Now what you could do is you could paint this with the texture paint. You could use the dirt texture or the stone texture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gravel on the base and then make it look like the gravel's kind of on fire too. So that's why I didn't do that. But so there we go. So I've got my flaming sphere. It's now glued to the base, and the nail makes it so it won't ever come off. So it holds it very securely. And so there we go. So we got that. Now I'm going to glue the gravel to the base, the flocking. Before I put the flocking on the base, here's another trick I want to show you that you can use to hide some corrugation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flaming sphere and I'm going to put some glue on the edge. And then I'm just going to roll that in the sand. So then that ends up hiding that very nicely. And I'm going to take some excess off. Make sure it's off the bottom there. So there we go. You can see that hides that corrugation very nicely. So now I will put I'll put the flocking on the base. Now I've got my flaming sphere, so I'm going to put the flocking on the base. So I'll take the flaming sphere and put some glue around. And it's okay if it touches the flaming sphere. Okay, so I've got all my glue on. So now I'm going to use my rough sand flocking. So I'll get some of that out. And I'm just going to tilt and just pour it around into the glue. And that's all there is to it. Now we'll let that dry and we'll come back and paint. So here's my flaming sphere. It's all dry. The base is dried up. And you could paint this several ways. You could do it like a rock texture or a dirt texture. Or what I'm going to do is a technique that I did similar to the burned out buildings video that I did. And I'm going to paint that now. So what I'll do is I will get some yellow, and I'm going to paint the base yellow. So there we go. I've got the base all yellow now, so I'll let that dry. So here my yellow base is dried. So now I'm just going to add some orange. And there we go. So that's the flaming sphere, and you can use that in your games to mark the position of this rolling sphere of death. So there we go. Easy to do. So here's our battle setup. Unfortunately, our mage, our arcanist, has broken off from the group and gotten lost, and she's being pursued by 3 enemies. So she has luckily been able to lose them in the cover. She's crouching behind the rocks, hiding, and so the creatures move up. They move their standard 6, so they're moving up. Now as they approach, she decides to let loose with the flaming sphere. So she begins making her mystical incantations and casts flaming sphere. It's within 10, so we'll check that, and it's easily within range. So she casts it right next to the first creature there, which takes its damage. Now she can sustain that with a minor action, and she can attack with a move action. So if she wants, she could move it up. She could roll it up to 6. She could attack the other one again for a move action, or she could attack one of the other creatures that are closing in on her. She might be able to continue hiding depending on if the creatures are too concerned about the flaming sphere that's rolling at them. So that's a perfect example of how you could use the flaming sphere in play. And next time we'll talk about another spell effect and craft it and put it on our table to show it to you.